and welcome. Raise your game today. I'm David Levin. This is our Friday episode, so we're talking about the inner game of life. Tuesdays are for the mental game of sports and competition. Fridays are for the rest of our lives. So how are you doing this week? How are you feeling? I hope all is well and good. Less than 3 weeks to the election. Oh my goodness. Hard to believe. Things are getting real. Things are good here. Had our first couple of freezing nights, which is not my favorite thing. I really don't like having to bundle up before heading out. Hat, gloves, coat. The car is cold. Just too much trouble and fuss. And of course, 0 point in complaining about it. This is where we live. This is what it's like here. Get over it. So a few things to talk about this week. Trump's ridiculous day of love comment, the MAGA threats to FEMA and weather people, a helpful call to action technique, a fun health and relationship discussion, and a new music discovery. All right, we'll start with ups and downs. So what gave me a lift this week and what things were pulling me down? The first up for me is that I finally got my camo Harris Walz hat. I loved these when they first came out. Ordered it like 9 weeks ago, apparently along with pretty much everyone else in the country. Funny detail, since I've been waiting so long, I've been trying to track down the order's progress, system not working, getting frustrated with that. Not so much because of how long it's been, but because the idea is to get it before the election, right? It's part of the campaign and time is running out. So 2 days ago, I finally sent an email to their store, a bit snippy to be honest, saying, where the heck is my hat? Not going to be happy if it doesn't get here on time. And literally the next day, it showed up in the mail. So that apparently is the kind of power I have in Democratic circles. One call, boom, done. That's funny. No, just a fun, happy coincidence. And now I have my beautiful hat. Also, this was nice. Our daughter had her sweet 16 birthday, which was also her golden birthday this week. Turned 16 on the 16th. If you don't know, a golden birthday is when your age that year is the same as the day of the month. 16 on the 16th. It's hard to believe our youngest is 16. She was just under 2 when we moved here. Her brother will be 20 in a few months. It's just mind-boggling. Time is super weird. Another fun up, I've talked before in the context of money about the idea that you get the best perceived value on money you spend when you use it to remove an annoyance from your life. Maybe you've heard me mention that. This is sort of related. One annoyance I have now and then is that I'll meet someone who wants to hear some of the music I made back when I did that. And when I think about sending them to Spotify or Apple Music, I'm always kind of bummed with what I know they're going to hear first. The first songs on my different records are not my favorites. I mean, they're good, but they're not the favorites, And there are others I don't even really maybe want them to hear. And that always bugs me. Now, it almost never comes up, but when it does, it's a little frustrating and annoying. So I decided this week to do something about it. I started putting together what I guess would be a greatest hits collection if I'd had any actual hits, but it's just a playlist of my favorite songs from my catalog in a good sequence, and it's been super fun putting that together. Not sure what I'll do with it, not sure how to make it available to share, and working on all that, but it's been super fun. And I must say, it's really nice to have work you've done that you're still proud of, that still makes you feel good, that you genuinely enjoy. I mean, it's a little weird to say this because I made it, but it actually feels like a gift to me now at this point in my life. I just think that's interesting. Anyway, that was lovely. I'm sure I'll be continuing to work on that project for a while. My last up this week, I hit a major milestone, big event in my life. I played my 1,000th game of Wordle this week. Isn't that something? My goodness. There's a lot to unpack there, actually. Almost 3 years, started during COVID. It's an interesting frame of reference for examining that period of history. But anyway, it's mostly just fun. 1,000 games of Wordle. For my downs, also about Wordle, my 1,000th game also happened to be the day I broke a winning streak of 167 games. And that's not even the whole story, because my previous streak of 185 games got broken by a glitch in the system. I played one day, won the game, 185 streak, came back the next day, it said, your streak of 1, and there was nothing I could do about it. So between that and this latest one, I actually had a streak going of almost a full year. The word that got me was corer, C-O-R-E-R, like a tool to core apples. Stupid word. Anyway, that was a bummer, a funny bummer. And this is my life. The biggest downer this week was breaking my Wordle streak. I hope your streak continues and your downs this week were equally inconsequential. All right, that's ups and downs. Next up, top stories. This week, the big news was the many appearances by both Trump and Harris. They're really putting themselves out there at this stage, though not at all in the same way. Trump canceled 60 Minutes, canceled NBC, refused to debate, instead went on a bunch of friendly platforms, friendly outlets, and still managed to step in it in so many ways. I think my favorite was on Univision, the Spanish language channel. There was a painful exchange where this guy, an undecided voter, in a very genuine way said, look, I'm a Republican, but some of these things disturb me. January 6th, the election denying, what can you say to get my vote back? And Trump's answer was to say that January 6th, and he really said this, January 6th was a day of love and peace, and nothing at all was wrong with it. And the look on this guy's face and on a lot of the audience was just, are you kidding me with this? It was just beautiful. And afterward, they asked the guy, have you made up your mind? He said, yeah, I've decided I'm not voting for Trump. He was also at an economic forum hosted by Bloomberg, not what you would call a liberal outlet, right? This is a pro-business audience. And it was just so clear that he literally doesn't understand basic economics. And I mean literally, he refused to admit that his big tariffs plan that he's so in love with will do the opposite of what he claims. And when he's pushed on it, he simply cannot speak rationally. He dodges, he doubles down, and he attacks the questioner. It was just so clear. I can't imagine business leaders not being turned off by it. And the third one was billed as a town hall for women on Fox. It wasn't a town hall. It was just a small Trump rally with women in the audience who were Trump supporters. But at one point, he said, and again, this is for real, he said, I'm the father of IVF. The father of IVF. What does he mean by that? It can't be what it sounds like. The father, in that context, means he created the procedure, right? Or maybe he brought it into common practice through his support and advocacy. But the truth is, there is no universe in which that statement makes any sense. I think the most likely explanation is that he's come to understand that IVF is good, that people like it, even though I think it's also likely he doesn't actually know what it is. But he knows people like it, so he wants credit for it. Like with his lie that he created the $35 insulin cap. He didn't do that. Joe Biden did that. It's just a fact and easily proven. But again, doesn't matter. Trump hears that it's good. People like it. Okay, then I did that. That really is his pattern. He is genuinely psychologically broken. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is smart as hell and kicking ass. She went on all kinds of shows this week, friendly, not so friendly, did 60 Minutes, did Fox, and every time, I mean, there are moments maybe that could be sharper, but she's there, she's intelligent, she's engaged and present and real and tough. Trump is always saying she's dumb and crazy and even mentally impaired, like literally he says that like from childhood or something. And every time she gets out there, it's clearly not true, and it just makes him look dumb for saying such obviously incorrect things. It's actually interesting. With so many of the other things he claims, like that he capped insulin, he built the wall, crime is up, it's hard to see for yourself that it's a lie. In order to believe that, you have to believe the source of the accurate information, which can be a challenge for a lot of people. But in this case, when he says she's not smart, etc., you see for yourself that it's clearly not true. So I think these appearances of hers are possibly hurting him more than people realize. I think they open the door in people's minds that he maybe really is full of shit about other things too. Anyway, I think her appearances have been great. On the election watch, this is pretty chilling. There are reports that FEMA workers and offices have had to cut back on their work because they're getting threats from people who believe the MAGA conspiracy theories about what they're doing. That's heartbreaking in a bunch of ways. One of the craziest things I've heard, honestly, which is quite a high bar, but weather people, broadcasters, meteorologists are actually getting threats from MAGA people. Apparently, reporting on dangerous weather, trying to help people stay safe, stay informed, is a political operation of some kind and a threat that patriots need to stop. I mean, how crazy do you have to be to believe that? But here's the real danger in this, bigger picture. And this sounds like fear-mongering, but it's for real. So back in the Vietnam era, in Cambodia, and you may know this already, but there was a communist government called the Khmer Rouge, led by a guy named Pol Pot, ruled from 75 to 79, 1975, 79. Part of their philosophy was that the educated people in their country, the experts and the elites, and really anyone with an education, were the enemy of the people, the enemy of the common man. They literally executed basically everyone with a high school education and above. Hundreds of thousands of people were slaughtered by their own government simply because they had gone to school. Teachers, community leaders, people who knew a foreign language were on the list. This actually happened in our lifetime. So when I hear MAGA crazies threatening weather forecasters, threatening FEMA, threatening Congress and Mike Pence on January 6th, threatening the press and protesters, when I hear Mike Flynn, Trump's general, say, first we got to win, but then the gates of hell will open. He said this last week. I think things could get a whole lot darker than people realize. Bottom line, when thugs believe facts and reality are the enemy, none of us are safe. And this is the path Trump and MAGA are taking us down. On a happier note, early voting in Georgia is off the charts. First day, 310,000 votes versus 136,000 last time. Second day, almost the same. Of course, we don't know those are Democrats, but it still seems like a good sign. A smaller data point, in our little county here, in rural Wisconsin, our Democratic office, we've had so many volunteers that we've almost run out of things to do. We have more postcards written and sent than we have people to send them to. We have more people knocking on doors than we have doors to knock on. This has never happened before, and I like to think it's not just us. There's a groundswell all across the country that's not being picked up in the polls. Could be wrong, of course. Goes without saying. Still super nervous. But that's what it feels like from here. So let's hope that's true and keep up the good work right through November 5th. Okay? All right, that's Top Stories. Next up, Inner Game Gold. Last time, we talked about our old friend, the gratitude exercise, as a way to reduce anxiety and stress. Always a great thing to do. This week, I want to revisit the Marshawn Lynch technique, which is to look yourself in the mirror in the morning and ask, what kind of person do I want to be today? But I want to tie that today to the upcoming election by changing the question just a little bit. Rather than what kind of person do I want to be, though that's still a great question, for this week, ask, what kind of campaign support person do I want to be? And whatever answer you come up with is fine. If it's just to show up and vote, maybe even vote early, that's great. If it's to put signs in your yard, donate some money, volunteer at the office, hit the doors and talk to voters, also all great. There are many different types of campaign support person one could be. I want you to pick the type for yourself that you'll feel good about when you look back on these times. And asking yourself this question will help you get there. So that's Inner Game Gold this week, a campaign version of the Marshawn Lynch technique. Look in the mirror, ask yourself, what kind of campaign support person do I want to be today? All right, next up, raise your outer game. This week, I want to talk about sort of a funny overlap of health and relationships. For background, as you may know, I've been having some heart issues starting a couple years ago. Been watching that. Recently also had atrial fibrillation, which ultimately went away. That was great. But the pending question now is, do I stay on blood thinners or not? You go on blood thinners with AFib to reduce the risk of stroke. I definitely don't want to have a stroke. But I'm not in AFib anymore, so the real risk is undetected AFib in the future. And for that, they recommend staying on blood thinners for the rest of your life, which I don't want to do. I don't like being on meds in general. If I don't need to be, there are side effects to blood thinners, and they're crazy expensive, like $500 a month for the rest of my life, which is just insane to me. So I want to stop, and I believe that between my Apple Watch, which alerted me last time, and my own just paying attention, I'll be fine. So here's where the relationship piece comes in. My wife is a doctor, so she knows about these things. She also very much would like me to not have a stroke, and she generally agrees that my watch and self-awareness will probably keep me safe, and that $500 a month is insane. But to be more confident about that, she wants me to wear a heart monitor for 30 days. If I can go 30 days and haven't had any AFib episodes, that's a good sign that it would be safe to stop the meds. The problem is, I really don't want to wear a monitor. I did that some years ago. It was kind of a nightmare. It didn't work, and I got this nasty rash on my chest that itched and burned and took weeks to heal afterward. So there we are. She wants me to wear the monitor. I really don't. What do we do? And the answer is, I wear the monitor. And here's why. Number one, she's probably right. But more to the point, in our relationship, and we've been together over 35 years now, we generally follow the whoever has stronger feelings about it doctrine. When there's a question in the air, where should we go for dinner? Which show should we watch? What should we name our child? We check in with each other. Whoever has a stronger feeling about it, that's what we do. And it seems to work pretty well. And as we get older and likely have more and more serious health questions, and even just life questions, right? As the kids head off on their own, grandkids, all that, I actually think this is going to continue to be a great help to both of us, a great approach. Now, we tend to agree on things in general, similar taste, similar values. If that wasn't the case, it might not work as well. But that is Raise Your Outer Game for this week. The health relationship overlap and some general thoughts on getting along with your life partner. Next up, our challenge of the week. This week, let's do the Marshawn Lynch technique, and you can do either version. The original, what kind of person do I want to be today, or the modified, what kind of campaign support person do I want to be. So make a note in the morning, look in the mirror, or maybe just think to yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today, and see what effect that has on you for the day. This is also a good one to write down whatever thoughts come up as you do it. And pay special attention to the gap between the answer you come up with and where you were right before that. That is super fascinating because there's always a gap, and that tells us so much about the nature of being a human and what it takes to be happy and proud of yourself. Anyway, that's the challenge. Next up, highly recommended. Started a new book this week, The President's Lawyer by Lawrence Robbins. I tend to love legal books, Scott Turow, John Grisham, also like political inside stuff, so this is a great combination for me. Just a little ways in, but so far it's very good. Great new show this week on Netflix called Starting Five. It's a documentary, follows 5 NBA players during the last season, and these are top players too, LeBron James among them. I love these sports documentaries, love getting an inside look at their lives, what it's like to play at that level. Also, I know very little about basketball, so it's an extra treat to learn more about that. Anyway, happy to recommend that if it sounds interesting. The most fun recommendation this week is some new music I came across. We had a show here in town this week, a live concert with this band that just really impressed me. And that honestly doesn't happen very often. Having been an artist myself for so long, I'm pretty opinionated and judgmental, to be honest, but these guys were super impressive. The band is called Sway Wild. Sway Wild. Sort of a weird name, I think. But that's the only weird thing about them. The live show is just two people. There's a woman, the main singer and guitar player, and a guy who also plays guitar and sings and now and then jumps onto the drums. Their harmonies are super tight. Their songs are interesting. She is both a great singer and has a great voice, which is not always the case. Great enough that her singing by itself, just the sound of it, has a power over you. Also, even more interesting, she's a remarkable guitar player, plays electric guitar, and doesn't really play like anyone I've heard before. And I can't think of the last time I was able to say that. I mean, how can someone have a truly unique sound on the guitar at this point in history? Hasn't it all been pretty much done by now? And of course, it's hard to describe, but she uses a lot of sort of atmospheric sounds, volume pedal, delays. Her parts are not what you'd expect. It's very musical and effective. I just loved it. Now, I haven't actually listened to their records yet. I don't know if they have the same approach on their recordings, but the live show was great. Highly recommended. One nice additional item. After the show, our daughter wanted to buy a CD for a friend, got the chance to talk with them, and they seem to be genuinely lovely people and were really warm and great with her. So that is Sway Wild. Give them a listen. If you get a chance to see them live, check them out for sure. And that is highly recommended for this week. Reminder, for more ideas on how to self-regulate, be the kind of person you want to be, check out the Raise Your Inner Game book or the Sports Academy training if you're an athlete, raiseyourinnergame.com for that. Otherwise, that's it for this week. Hope you have a great week. 18 days till the election. Hang in there. Keep up the good work. I'll talk to you next time.